Often I get asked, Kwesi, how do you practice public speaking by yourself? And it's a process to get a talk ready for the stage, ready to present to people. So here are 5 steps to help you get ready and practice by yourself in an efficient way. The first step is collecting ideas. Long before you sit down to write a speech, you should be collecting ideas and always think before you transcribe. Always think before you put thoughts to paper. Let the idea ruminate in your mind. A lot of times I will have an idea for a story for a speech or a longer speech, and I will sit with an idea and I'll go about my day, maybe come back to it a week later, and then I'll have another idea that comes to me. Speeches that hit the stage are often made up of little pieces of the puzzle, if you will, along the way. So remember that. Always think of a way to collect ideas, whether it's in your notes, in your phone, or always have a journal next to you so that you're always ready to collect those ideas and eventually put them together. Next, start to compile those ideas. A lot of times I'll send a text to myself, or I'll have a note here, or I'll have written notes somewhere. But if I don't compile all of those ideas, I can miss out on a gem, a good nugget of information, or a good phrase to use in a speech that I may have put in a note somewhere. So once a week, think about ways to actually bring those ideas together. I have a master note that I compile all my ideas for certain stories or certain speeches that I'm going to do so that I never miss anything and I'm ready to put it all together when it's time to present. And when it's time to present, the third step is think of your start first. Think of how you want to start. And you want to tease your audience at the start. You want them saying 3 words when they hear you begin your speech. You want them to say, "Tell me more." So you want them to be interested in what you have to say. So you want to make sure that you find a way to hook your audience, to tease them at the beginning of your speech so they'll want to listen further. The next way to be ready for the stage and to practice by yourself is use what I call the talk and type method. I think I may have heard it before online, so I won't claim that it's my idea, but talking and typing as you go along. I used to sit down and think about what I wanted to write for my speech, but what I've found is that if I'm sitting by a computer or if I'm writing a speech out, I like to write and then I'll stand up and I'll say something like I'll do it on stage because we speak differently than we write. And then I'll come up with something good and I'll say, oh yeah, that's a good way to say it. And then I'll go back to writing or typing. So I'll go back and forth between talking and typing to start to put the body of my speech together. And I don't always write in sentences. Sometimes I'll write a thought and I'll say, okay, I want to talk about this, and I'll write a few ideas. And then I'll go to another section. I'll say, for the next section, I want to start writing this. And I'll just go back and forth between actually pretending like I'm presenting and typing or writing as I go along. I write in sections, not really sentences. So that's a good way to practice getting your speech ready, but not making it too formulaic and written or rehearsed or just too stiff. And finally, record and repeat. Once you have your outline or a rough draft of your speech written down or ready to go, get up and present it like you're going to present it in front of people and try to play the audience. So what I mean by that is listen to yourself on tape, whether it's video recording or audio. Listen to it and ask yourself, what would my audience be asking? What kind of questions would be in their head? And as you're practicing and as you're listening to your speech over and over again, you'll start to hear, oh yeah, okay, well, I'm not explaining this quite correctly. Because what happens is we know our own stories too well sometimes. And when we know them too well, we may leave out important items. Case in point, I gave a speech a couple of months ago and I went to jail for a crime I didn't commit. Long story, you can read about it at communicate2create.com. And one of the things that I forgot to mention in my speech is that I was placed in solitary confinement. And during one of the drafts of my speech, I actually remembered to mention it, but when I took it to the stage, I forgot to mention that I was placed in solitary for my protection as a former police officer. And sure enough, even though a lot of people congratulated me for the speech afterwards, a few came up to me and asked, well, why were you in solitary? So one of the things you want to do is listen back to your speech so you know when those questions come up, you prepare for them before you ever take it to the stage. And try to take it in front of a friendly audience, whether it be a Toastmasters audience or just doing it in front of family and friends. Sometimes I'll test out little 1-minute segments of my story for humor or impact. With my wife, I'll just say the story, but I won't tell her I'm practicing my speech. I'll just say something, and if she laughs, I know, okay, well, I might put that in my speech. So that's something you can try as well. So use these 5 tips to help you practice public speaking by yourself. If you want help preparing your speech coaching, I'll leave a link below. In any case, make sure you have a way to practice your speech, to rehearse your speech before you take it live to a stage. It will make it that much better.